But a good field, strong field, and as Dustin was telling me earlier in the weekend, you know, this is where it all begins. This is where it all starts. You can have your drive to survive. This is harder.
Yeah.
Great field though, and great experience. I've driven one of these cars, and they're so much fun. So, last race of the Speed Tour from Road Atlanta of the day. And under the bridge they come, 2 by 2. They do a really good job this series of getting everybody gathered. They've got them disciplined well. Here they come then. A gaggle of hard-charging racers coming to the line for the F16s. F1600s, I should say, but away they go, and it is the number 3 who goes straight into the lead, Joe Calasacco. Really good start. Also up there, Charles Ante, Perona, Rubens Navarro. Eli had a great race yesterday.
31, and then Robert Perona, who won overall.
Eli back to third place.
Today, number 73.
Looks like David Adorno got it just ahead of him. You can see just a little bit of water left there, but turn 1, Mission Foods turn 1 was pretty clean as they go 3 wide. Coming into the Bridge Hall Bennett, S's not suggested, especially in those kind of conditions.
Yeah, not the easiest of things to do. But down the hill they come then, and everybody's starting to spread out already into 6 for the first time. A glimpse there of the 65 going through our shot there. That's Callum Baxter, excuse me, in the Britain West Motorsports, Miguel. That's got a Honda engine. And now the field spreading out. Good battle list for 4th position here. And you can see the green car on the left-hand side of the track. And just getting squeezed is the red car behind him. I'm going to find out the numbers soon enough as they come down the hill. Here we go, side by side. Last of the late breakers. And here we go into the corner. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, down the hill into turn 12, coming down into Mission Foods turn 1, and look at that, it's Joe Calasacco up front, followed by David Adorno, and then Eli Navarro takes it from David Adorno going into Mission Foods turn 1, followed by Scott Rubenser, Robert Perona, Dylan DeFonts, Callum Baxter, Theodore Burns, Porter Aiken, and Mateo Naranjo.
Naranjo had a good race yesterday, currently in 10th position, so he'll look to move forward, I'm sure. But that was a nice move by Navarro for 2nd. Still some wet patches out there, and you can see now when they get to the bottom here, you really just can't dry this as the day goes on. So they've got to be careful. Look, you can see them just wiggling there on the exit. They're going to be careful not to hit each other as well. It's easy. I mean, I tell you, the suspension crumples really quickly if you get stuck into somebody else. You can see very lightweight metal on the sides of those suspensions.
Whew. Getting a little bit wiggly there going into 3-dimensional services, turn 6.
Naranjo there in the number 80, currently in 10th position.
Look at how closely they're drafting coming down this back straightaway.
Yeah, and it's interesting because without the wings, it's harder to draft, but you're going to get a natural draft. And because they're all so close, what happens is a bit like Miatas. If you get enough of them together, they really get a good push of the air. And so you get a group of 5 or 6, and then you can get a proper draft. Several different teams involved in this, and as Dustin was explaining earlier in the weekend, anybody can come and arrive and drive, but the best way to go is to join one of the teams because they know the setup, they know the data, and unless you bring a professional mechanic or engineer with you, you're going to be struggling a little bit.
Eli Navarro now back up to 1st place.
Porter Aiken starting the show. He won a race yesterday, currently in 7th position in that number 99. Here he comes. Yeah, and he was explaining just how tough it was, but these conditions are almost easy in comparison to what Porter Aiken's race was. He was soaked to his suit when he got out the car yesterday. So, again, not easy conditions because just that one wet, very wet patch is still wet into 10 as well. So they've got to be careful too, but as you can see, coming into here, 6 and 7, it's nice and dry, no problems. And delighted to once again well, we'll let him catch his breath, shall we? We were rotten to him last time, but Dustin's come and joined us. Yeah, I'm watching to see if Porter can come through from 7th. He's got Burns, Baxter, and Adorno in front of him, and plenty of time to sort it all out.
So we're joined now in the booth by Dustin Hodges, who can offer us some expertise. Dustin, what are you seeing so far?
Well, I can tell you one thing that I know for sure, because I was down there in the field and in the grid as everyone was making this tire choice. Half the cars are on rains, half the cars are on slicks.
Wow.
And that is, it's definitely an interesting battle here, and I think you see that as some of this field just starts getting sliced up. The guys on rains are going to be really, really fast for the first couple laps, but as we talked earlier in the sessions, earlier in the day, you can cook those, and the guys on dries are going to come alive towards the end of this race. It's going to be really entertaining.
So do you know about our leaders, like Eli Navarro, or were they on
I know that all
slicks?
the Rice cars and all the Pelfrey cars are all on slicks. I know that one of my cars is on slicks and one of them's on rains.
What would you do?
Well, this was like I said, it was a last-minute decision. I sent 3 people out to different corners to scout.
We've got a replay here.
Uh-oh. That means something crazy happened, right?
You're looking at turn 5. I'm not sure what we're seeing here.
I think that's live. We're going to go back. Let's take a look at that replay now. No, we got a problem.
That's like a replay remix. Replay.
Replay.
So as you can see, the drying line, you've got, I mean, I just actually instructed one of my drivers to drive through the water going down the straightaway to try and cool off the rains because he put on, because I can see how much dry it is there. And
it seems that the only really heavy wet patches are 10 and 4, where you'd expect them at the bottom of both hills. Mm-hmm. But that means that the tires are going to get very hot down this very dry, long straight. Now, here we go. Let's see how wet it is coming into 10. Well, it's not. So really, turn 4 is really the only, turn 5, 4 and 5, about the only really heavy wet patches. So, right, if you're on rains, you need to wiggle about a little bit to find the patches.
Absolutely, and we were actually shocked that the river in 10A dried up as quick as it did. But yes, there's still a river down there in 4, and there was a little bit of water going into turn 1 here at the apex that we were worried about. But the rest of the track is looking really dry here. The guys on dries are going to come alive, and I think that's why you're seeing Navarro and Calasaco there kind of starting to check out a little bit.
Very quickly, it's going to make the work of Calasaco and go after.
And like you were saying, I just mentioned, just as in Atlantic, you've got a real crossover of different kinds of drivers, some with experience, some without, some just starting out, some with years of experience.
Oh, absolutely, and you're going to see that the rain. There's a rain dance that some of these guys do that are just unbelievable in the rain. But one of the things that's showing me that the track is dry is that they're running over curbs like it's nothing. And that's one rule in the rain is you don't drive on painted surfaces. So if the curbs are dry, race is dry, it's going to definitely be a dry track. We'll just have to see what guys can manage that, because there's still some moisture seeping out there, and you're going to hit those spots, and if you're not ready for it, it's going to send you for a ride.
Yeah, these are difficult conditions, regardless of the fact that it's not pouring with rain. These are still difficult conditions because it is a little bit patchy, isn't it? You're not 100% sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to tell. You can see the light gray, dark gray, but you never know if there could be a little tiny seepage coming through there that puts you in a bad spot.
Especially when you're racing this close together, because you're too busy concentrating on the guys left and right of you, in front and behind. And so the next thing is to worry about the actual surface. It's fine if you're out on your own, but when you're wheel-to-wheel like this, you've got enough to think about. Halfway through then, this 12-lap race, F1600s. We welcome FRP to our family.
Yeah, Dustin, we're getting some comments from YouTube. Can you explain these cars in this class of racing?
Absolutely. So this is a Formula 1600. This is an entry-level class. Basically, a lot of these guys come out of karting. A lot of these guys are seasoned guys that run this for a long, long time because the crash damage is minimal. That's one of the reasons it's a great training ground. You don't have wings to wreck. The parts are a little cheaper than a lot of the higher, more performance cars, but it is very challenging to drive with very little horsepower and very little torque. You know, it's a Honda Fit motor that's detuned from what is in a street car. The shift points are lower than what the street car is. So you have to keep momentum up. It's a very momentum driver class. Pretty much everybody in the field can afford top-notch equipment, so you don't have anybody buying your way to the front. So you have the Honda Fit motor. It's a 4-speed H-pattern Hewlin gearbox, racing gearbox. You don't use the clutch to shift. Downshifts, you have to give a little blip of the throttle to get it to go into gear. But everybody that jumps in these, they look at them from the outside, they think, oh, this is just, you know, some kid's car, right? And I want to drive the Atlantic, and I've never driven anything but 80 down the freeway. And if they get a few laps in this, the first things out of their mouth is, this thing's really fast.
Yeah.
And to me, you know, seasoned guys that run it, they laugh because it's, well, no, this is the entry-level car that you're supposed to drive. But yeah, they are a lot of fun. They're very light. They weigh 1,100 pounds. They run 93 octane pump gas. And there's, I think, 8 different makes in this series right now, 8 different chassis manufacturers. So it's not a spec class. They do have a pretty hard rule on what you can fix, what you can change, what you can adapt to. But everything's kind of locked in on the rules package to keep things from being too cost prohibitive.
You know, and having sort of raced around or been around the world following racing, this type of racing is in Australia, in New Zealand, in Italy, in Britain, the Formula Ford Festival, of course. I mean, you know, this is multi-international. You know, everybody, and it's all for all the reasons you just mentioned. The parts are available, the parts are cheap, the engines are absolutely, well, one of the lowest form of work on an engine, and like you say, there's no buying your way to the top. It is what it is. I think that's the best way to put it. And everybody knows what they've got. And in fact, you can race a 19-year-old chassis and compete against a brand new Ray and still have a good chance.
Absolutely. We saw that with Jonathan Lee out there, and that, I think it's probably 30 years old now, which is amazing.
Amazing.
But yeah, absolutely. There's, you know, brand new cars, stuff that's older than most of the people watching, and they're running wheel to wheel and being competitive.
You know, and I actually, while I was in New Zealand, I was covering Formula First, and I started looking up just how much it would cost. And yeah, you can get into a few $1,000s in buying a brand new car, but you can buy an older car potentially for a few $100s. So,
absolutely.
You know, it is absolutely affordable racing. Here's some good action. Ooh, wheel to wheel. You don't want to get interlocked, do you?
That's the one thing with open wheel cars. If you touch side to side, sometimes you can get away with it. But if you interlock and one of those tires hits front to rear, somebody's going airborne.
I know.
It just launches.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen many times.
Gentlemen, here we are on the leaders. Porter Aiken, Eli Navarro, Joe Calasaco. This is turning out to be a great race as they come into three-dimensional services group turn 6.
Yeah, it looks like Porter Aiken is making his way to the front this weekend. He he won the first race. Now he's made his way to the front again in race 3. It's Porter Aiken having a great weekend here. I remember the last time that Navarro was right behind Aiken going into turn 10. It didn't go out too well for that race prep car.
Now he's taking a different line.
He
now
learned
he's on
from
the
last
inside.
time.
Taking the inside. Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers turn 10A. Eli Navarro takes the lead over Porter Aiken, but now into lap traffic. He's pointing one way, and they go the other way. So now I think Porter Aiken takes it back. Porter Aiken looks like he's got the lead again over Eli Navarro. The driver was trying to do a point by, but Eli Navarro went the other way of the point by and didn't know what to do, so he had to basically probably came off the gas just a little bit, and just that little bit put Porter Aiken ahead.
Absolutely, that was a little sketchy there. Yeah, coming up on a lapped car that runs down the middle. You know, there's a rule in racing, you're supposed to stay on your line, and you're supposed to try and get out of the way because you don't want drivers kind of picking and choosing which way they're going to go. And I think that's what you saw there was that, you know, somebody not following the rule of thumb, and it almost cost some guys some racing there.
Well, Eli Navarro right back on the gearbox. Porter Aiken coming into three-dimensional services, turn 6. The only banked corner on this Road Atlanta circuit, but these are pretty equally yoked looking cars here.
Absolutely, you have 3 different makes there running at the front. So those 3 cars in the draft, 3 different types of chassis. If I'm not mistaken, there's 2 different types of engines in that pack as well. I could be wrong, but I think Calasaco has a Ford. So you can see that, you know, everybody can be competitive in this, and it is definitely driver.
Look at that. Now Calasaco takes the front, followed by Eli, followed by Porter. Totally different. So that right there, it looked like Joe Calasaco took the advantage of that drafting coming down the back straightaway and was able to take the lead. And now with only 3 laps left, we're going to see if he uses that knowledge. Where do you want to be coming out of turn 7 on the last lap with this group?
I want to be at the back of the draft train. Those the 2, 3, 4 cars. If you're at the back of that, you judge it right, you will get a launch like somebody just shot nitrous into your tank. And you can absolutely go from, if there was a 10-car train, you could go from 10th to 1st going down the back straightaway. And if one guy pulls out to help you, it's even more. So yeah, absolutely, I would want to be, you know, it's great to be out front. Everybody wants to lead the race, but it's not necessarily where you want to be in most places.
Well, we're on lap 10 of 12 with a really great, clean racing here. They're coming up through lap traffic, but right now it's Joe Calasaco, followed by Eli Navarro, followed by Porter Aiken, Callum Baxter, Theodore Burns, Jack Sullivan, Mateo Naranjo, Timothy Steele, Robert Perona, and Dylan DeFonts. That's our top 10. But now we're watching, walk us through this draft train here.
So as you can see, you've got, I think that's Porter Aiken in the lead there with Eli Navarro, and they're starting to pull away. That's Calasaco out front still, my apologies. So Navarro's really trying to take it into turn 10 again. He is not going to go around the outside at turn 10 ever again, I don't think. He is stuck to the inside line all the time, and he's keeping Porter Aiken on the outside there. He's defending P2, which is really smart on Eli's part because you don't want to get shuffled back and then lose that draft. So it's one thing to make the draft on the straightaway. You start getting past in corners like that, and you lose your launch out of the corner. And I think that's what Eli's trying to do, trying to break Aiken off of that and make it a 2-horse race. But they've brought Baxter up into the fight now, and that, again, fighting 2x2 creates a bigger draft window and allowed Callum Baxter to just slip right up in there. So now you got 4 different teams fighting for the front here, which is that's impressive.
Yeah, Joe Calasaco in front, followed by Eli Navarro, Porter Aiken, Callum Baxter. This is the group as they go through the last bit of water here.
Ooh, Calasaco getting a little slippery there, going on the paint. We'll see if that cost him a little bit of that momentum we were talking about earlier and gives Eli a shot going into turn 6. Again, I think if Eli's got that racecraft, he's going to wait till turn 10.
We're looking down on Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. It looks like 11 of 13. It looks like they were able to add some laps. I don't know.
I don't think that ever happens in racing.
Yeah.
Adding a lap. Now that's cool. That's what it is. This racing is so exciting and so much fun that they want to see more. 4 wide into turn 10. I don't think these guys got the message that there's another lap after this. Callum Baxter from 4th to 2nd, squeezes Eli out there. Eli got a little twitchy. That's going to give up. Oh, we got a spinner off into the grass there. Looks like a back marker going for a ride.
But not any of the leaders. So we're still Porter Aiken, Callum Baxter, Joe Calasaco, and Eli Navarro. Timothy Steele, Jack Sullivan, Theodore Burns. That's your top 7. But we're going to stay here on our top 4. There's number 99, who's really been the class of the field so far.
Absolutely. Porter Aiken is definitely showing his talent this weekend. He has got Road Atlanta figured out. Coming home P1 in race 1 and now leading here on the second to last lap here on race 3. You're going to have a battle here again. I think Baxter and Porter kind of got a little gap there. If they can maintain that, keep it a 2-way fight, it's better off for them. Let's put it that way. Because you got these 2 guys behind you that are going to be hungry. They're in striking distance. You never know who's going to try and make that late lunge.
Yeah, they need to work together, those 2 in the back. Coming down through this back straight, because next time by is the white flag, ladies and gentlemen.
And as they're getting some lap traffic there, I hope they can use that draft. That's one of the things about lap traffic. Sometimes they get in your way. Sometimes you can use the draft and really kind of take it. And it looks like going in, Baxter's going to take a dive at it. Porter Aiken deep on the brakes. Baxter goes even deeper. That was an impressive move. He was one car, at least 1.5 cars back going into that brake zone. That takes some talent when it's this damp outside.
And they have really pulled away.
White flag out.
Joe Calasaco and Eli Navarro, the leaders, have really pulled away. Let's see if they can work together to try to get back up in there.
Looks like Callum Baxter used a back marker car almost as a pick there to keep Porter behind him going into turn 1. That's all about racecraft, thinking ahead. But they're just sliding all over the place, jumping that corner there. This track is 100% dry at this point. And I think that's what you're seeing. There's been a few guys pulling into pit lane that have kind of given up, and I think that's why. They chose the wrong tire here, and they're melting. But you see them slip sliding through that little damp part there through the S's. And Porter's losing a little bit to Callum Baxter there. See how this draft works out going down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's been a really smart race for Callum Baxter. Kind of came out of nowhere, and now the race has come to him. Let's see what he does with half a lap to go here at Road Atlanta. It's all about this draft right now, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And that's final lap. They're going to come down here and fight this to the wire. I think whoever comes out of turn 10B isn't going to necessarily be the winner. They may be side by side here through turn 12.
They're side by side coming into Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers 10A. Here they are, Dustin.
Porter Aiken took the lead down the back straight. Baxter's going to try and take him under the brakes. Porter covers off the inside. A little bit of a defending move there. And let's see what happens as they come over the bridge and come down the hill.
Looks like Porter Aiken has the advantage.
Looks like Porter Aiken is going to take the win.
We're going to see him come through, waving to the crowd.
Does.
There he is, Porter Aiken, by about a car length, takes the win over Callum Baxter. Eli Navarro 3rd, Joe Calasaco 4th, Jack Sullivan 5th, Robert Perona 6th, Timothy Seal 7th, Dylan DeFonce 8th, Theodore Burns 9th, and Jonathan Lee. That's our top 10. What a fantastic race. And Porter Aiken really, that last half, really played a smart race.
You know, we were talking earlier about whether people run with teams or run on their own. And Porter Aiken, this is an example. You can do this on your own. It's him and his father out here working hard. They're a one-car team. They do it all on their own. They work on the cars. I know Porter wrenches on his own car. They do their own engineering, their own coaching, and it just proves that if you work hard enough, you can do this and you can beat the big dogs and the big teams.
Yeah, that was really cool. Formula Race Promotions F1600. Ladies and gentlemen, they have given us 3 fantastic races here this weekend at Mission Foods. I can't even say it. Atlanta Speed Tour. I came up with the name and can't even say it. The Mission Foods Atlanta Speed Tour, ladies and gentlemen. It's the end of the day. My meds have worn off. It's about to get real scary on here. I'm about to cancel myself. But man, that is a cool looking car too.
It really is. It really is. Porter actually works for the Chill Out System Company that we have a lot of the Trans Am cars and stuff like that. I think they're a sponsor of one of the series here.
Oh, here we are. Here's the results. Porter Aiken 1st, Callum Baxter, Eli Navarro, Joe Calasaco. Look at that. What is that? Is that 7/100ths of a second?
7/100ths of a second. That's impressive.
Jack Sullivan, Robert Perona, Timothy Steele, Dylan DeFonce, Theodore Burns, and Jonathan Lee. Unbelievable top 10 there. Misha Goikberg went all the way back to 11th place. Charles Ante, David Adorno, Michael Busicelli, BJ Shaw, Carson DeFonce, Christopher Kierce, David H. Livingston Jr., Sebastian Mateo Narajo, and Stephen Jenks in 20th. And I think Jonathan is going to try to talk to some of these drivers coming into Victory Circle here if he can. But man, Dustin, very impressive racing this weekend.
It's hard to keep my breath watching this action, let alone being, I can't imagine these guys in the cars. This is wild weekend. We've had some really fun racing this weekend.
And this is just the start of your season, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a long year. There's these guys in 1600 have 21 races over the season. They had 3 every weekend, 7 weekends, 21 race championship. It's an amazing driver development series, and it's as you can see, it's very highly competitive.
Well, we're looking down from the drone here at Road Atlanta for the Mission Foods Atlanta Speed Tour. But right now, I'm going to throw to Jonathan on the pit lane. Jonathan, this has to be exciting. Take it away.
we on now?
So as you can see, the cheers coming up as Porter Aitken gets out of the car again and celebrates. As soon as he gets that helmet on, I'm going to dive in. I met him at the beginning of the weekend. He was soaked from doing all the hard work in the wet, but this was a much different race. But I can see from the excitement, look at that smile, folks. Porter, what a weekend.
Tried my best. We had a great result. Started 9th in the 3rd race. Only thing I was told was move forward, don't wreck the car. And I've done Road Atlanta quite a few times, so I knew going 2nd place into the last lap was the place to be. And fortunately, it all worked out to where I could draft past and secure the win.
Listen, there's a lot of people watching FRP for the first time on the live stream. What advice, if anybody sees this and says, I fancy a go, would you say come and join us?
Definitely, yes. I've driven quite a few series, and by far the most fun I've ever had in a car is in the F1600 racing with FRP.
And what's your plan in your future?
Just drive anything that anyone will let me into.
I'm wholeheartedly agree with you. Porter Aitken, remember the name. He's going to be a big star of the future. I hope you've enjoyed our weekend here at Road Atlanta as part of the Speed Tour. Don't forget, we'll be back in a few weeks' time from Lime Rock, but that's it from SVRA, Trans Am and FRP. Don't forget, MAV TV on Thursday night, 2 hours, get the popcorn, sit down and watch it all again. From me, Jonathan Green, and the rest of the team here and Green Night Television. Goodbye till then.